Welcome everyone. My name is Ana Lucia and I am one of the GRLA co-presidents. Thank you for choosing to be here with us today. We want to welcome all of you to the first event of our Luxury Events Industry Series. Just in time to celebrate International Women's Day, we're delighted to welcome guest speaker Micaela Erlanger, along with event moderator Alejandra Pupel, two distinguished lady bosses in the industry. Before I pass on the mic to my co-president Alexandra, we will play a short introductory video about Micaela Erlanger's work.
I always knew I was going to be a stylist. It's been a passion of mine since before I can remember, from playing dress up with my kid sister or styling my girlfriends for prom in high school. And now I do it professionally with some of the most extraordinary talent and the biggest stars in the world.
I am fortunate to work with amazing movie stars and to dress them for some of the most important red carpets, including the Academy Awards.
Fashion to me is about empowerment. It is a method of self-expression that, when used correctly, can be absolutely transformative.
Hello, everyone. My name's Alexandra, and I'm the other co-president of GRLA. Before we pass on the mic to Micaela and Alejandra, we would like to offer some insight into our speaker's professional background. Micaela is a celebrity fashion stylist based in New York City, and her work has been seen on the biggest red carpets and on the pages of top fashion publications such as Vogue and Vanity Fair. In 2018, Micaela announced the expansion of her styling business to include private clients with a focus on discerning brides and luxury weddings. Some of her high-profile clients includes Meryl Streep and Diane Kruger. Our distinguished moderator, Alejandra Pupel, is a Paris-based luxury event planner, and she caters to a diverse international clientele, allowing people to experience European savoir-faire by creating cutting-edge events in the most sought-after venues across Europe. Our conversation with Micaela and Alejandra will run for approximately 45 minutes, and it will be followed by a 15-minute space for Q&A, so you can all submit your questions in the chat throughout the session, and we kindly ask you to mute your microphones now. Your cameras are more than welcome, and without further ado, Micaela and Alejandra, you can now take over.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, first of all, for having us. It's really, really a pleasure to be with such an incredible group of dynamic girls. Honestly, the girls, boys, all of your group is fabulous. So thanks for having us.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so looking forward to this chat. It's going to be great.
Voila, voila. So let's start, first of all, how I spent like half an hour trying to pick what I was going to wear, because what do you wear to a webinar with a celebrity stylist? But, you know, okay, but... okay, I chose, that's it. The choice is made. So Micaela, first of all, maybe you can, you know, for the audience who maybe not know exactly what a stylist is, there's a lot of different types of stylists. There's the editorial stylist, then there's like the wedding stylist, then there's also the celebrity stylist. Can you give us a little bit of insight on that, first of all, just so we can clarify?
Absolutely. So there are many different types of styling, and I feel like styling is a little bit of a newer career, if you will, and job that exists these days, thanks to the rise of social media, I would say. I am a celebrity stylist and editorial stylist. That sort of falls under the umbrella of being a fashion stylist. So for me, my clients really include everything from advertising brands to people. and I work across various mediums. But there are so many different types of styling that exist out there that we'll definitely be covering and talking a little bit about today. So I think that this will be an informational discussion for sure.
And tell me a little bit about what parallels do you see between the celebrity carpet, red carpet styling, and like the wedding styling?
Yeah, well, you know, my job
that.
as a celebrity stylist is to help create and cultivate someone's public image. When the stars come to me to work with them, I am part of a team that has been assembled. And, you know, you really have to take so much into consideration because this is a very delicate experience. You know, this is a very personal and intimate role to play, and it's on such a global scale. So my responsibility for celebrity, just to clarify, is to really curate their image from head to toe. That means not just selecting what they're going to wear, but also advising on hair and makeup and overall strategy and brand alliance. There are so many parallels between working with stars on the red carpet and working with brides on their wedding day. First of all, these are typically, you know, evening wear focused events. Your client is typically in a dress or a gown. There is a lot of pressure. There's a lot of emotion. These are also live events. You know, walking down the red carpet is not dissimilar from walking down the aisle. You have photography going on. You might have video going on. You're being seen from all different angles. And there really is no room for error, because this is arguably the most important moment in someone's life, whether they're nominated for an award or debuting their movie at a premiere, or they're a bride-to-be walking down the aisle. So there are a lot of similarities there. And then in terms of executing the actual job of styling somebody, of course, there are going to be similarities and parallels in that too. Mainly because, again, we're dealing with couture, we're dealing with custom made pieces, we're dealing with evening wear and so forth. And also there's often multiple events. It's not just one dress anymore these days, especially in the world of bridal. You know, there's a weekend of events and appearances and outfits that are needed, just as there are with a celebrity. So you want to tell that story, and you want there to be some consistency and some sort of flow with the wardrobe choices, because you want them to fit the environment and the story that you are telling, whether that is the story of promoting someone's movie on the red carpet and what that movie might mean, and sort of what you want to convey as you're crafting their image, or how you want a bride to feel on her weekend. So there's so much in common, and actually it's really why I decided to expand my business to include services for private clients as well.
And I'm so thankful for that, because I absolutely, you know, I'm so thankful, because the truth is that, you know, working with you makes it so easy for us, because when a bride feels beautiful, she shines. I mean, like the whole event is just, you know, it's the better for it.
That confidence radiates, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing whether it's a private client or it's a star. You know, it really counts.
It makes all the difference. I can imagine 10 minutes before they go out, just like with me, like those 10 minutes or the 5 minutes before they go out. It's like, if they feel beautiful and confident and gorgeous, they look in the mirror, they say, I look amazing. Wow, does that help? I mean, it just does for everything. Celebrity red carpet or walking down the aisle and their special day. I think it's a little easier with celebrities because they're very used to the cameras and videos and photography, that I would say brides, the poor things, they have to be like the star for one night, but they've never been in front of a camera. They don't know if the good angle or the right angle. But so, you know, sometimes.
Definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some stars who, you know, for their first time, they have to experience what it's like too. But I think, again, that's where being a stylist comes in handy, because we can give them those tips. We can help them practice how to pose, how to stand, how to walk and maneuver a big dress, you know, all of these details. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, a little hand holding, I'm sure, behind the scenes. That I have no doubt about, that's for sure. So tell me a little bit about your creative process. Like someone comes to you, like a celebrity or a bride, someone comes to you and says, okay, I need to do something for this event. Look, how do you understand exactly who they are? Because sometimes themselves, they don't even know what they want to portray. How do you do that? Tell us a little bit about your process.
Definitely. Well, again, I'd say that there are some sort of general parallels. It's really important to get to know your client, whether it's a star or it's a bride or whoever it might be, or it's an advertising client, doesn't make a difference. You need to understand what their vision of themselves is, what the best vision and version of themselves that they want to portray will be, and what that looks like. And speaking the same visual language is best communicated through photos. So there is a lot of pinning on Pinterest boards and a lot of mood boards and a lot of very specific conversation that goes on between myself and a client, where they are now and how they want to look and how they want to be. And I think another really important thing is also understanding what doesn't work and what someone doesn't like, because oftentimes it's easier for people to articulate that, and it opens up a whole world of opportunity and possibility for trying new things if you're able to sort of narrow that down. From there, oftentimes I'm working on creating one-of-a-kind custom pieces for my clients, which is probably the most fun part of my job and one of the most creative processes for my work. And what I love about this is I am able to collaborate with the designers and with my clients to communicate that very clear vision. So once I have a sense of what my client is looking for, and also, you know, as a celebrity, there are other cooks in the kitchen. There's the publicist, there's the manager, there are the other people involved in shaping someone's image and career. So, you know, I have creative discussions with them as well. But once this is all clear, I'll put together a mood board of the fashion that I think will best communicate our shared goals. And it's also really important to understand where someone's going. What are they doing? Who's the audience? Just as it is, you know, with bridal, you know, what's the location? What's the venue? What's the backdrop? How are these clothes going to fit within the setting? So it's the same thing, whether it's on the red carpet or again, for a special event. These are the things that you want to consider because photography comes into play. And let me tell you, things photograph differently when they're on the body and when they're in an environment, as opposed to when they're static on the runway or on the clothing hanger. So it's a very different sort of process. But from there, you know, we go into working with the brands to collaborate on, you know, design. You never want to approach a designer who doesn't necessarily fit within your aesthetic. You know, if you're going to have a custom made Prada dress, you should know what Prada's skills are and, you know, what Prada does. If you're going to speak to Valentino, same thing. You know, you really want to approach in a very edited, curated way who you want to collaborate with. And sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes the designers aren't interested or they're not available, or, you know, the pieces are, you know, not wearable or whatever it might be. So there are challenges that come along with it. It's not a very straightforward, easy to do process. Otherwise anyone would have this job, but, but, you know, there is some back and forth, and, you know, hopefully you're able to achieve the ultimate goal. And I think the other important thing that's worth mentioning is that research is a hugely important part of my job. I am constantly discovering new brands. I'm constantly discovering new designers. I'm constantly educating myself and looking at history and references to inspire what I am working on. So, you know, having reference and a frame of context in which you're going to produce your work is really important. And I think caters to the caliber of what you're able to, you know, execute. And then lastly, I'd say teamwork. This is not a one-sided job. I am working with so many different people to execute the final vision, from hair, from makeup, from other team members on strategy. In the case of weddings, you know, I'm working with the design team and the planning team and the, you know, if there's an art director or a florist to understand, you know, what the details are. It's really important to have a clear overall picture of what your environment and event is going to look like and what the end goal is going to be. So.
And you're so right when you say it takes a village. I mean, literally, we did it. We did an event last year, and the dress was like, I can't even tell you how long. And you know, it was like 48 kilos, and the dress was, I think, like 70 kilos. And it was just like, it took a village. Everyone was helping her. You know, it was a hair, the makeup. There was like 8 people around her. I was like, hi, 2 seconds. You know, I'm here. So it does take a village. I couldn't agree more with you. But you're coordinating it, and you're making sure that everything is perfect. But another thing that I think is incredible is that I don't think people realize, because even myself, I didn't really realize that until I, you know, went into the industry, and, you know, my clients do a lot of couture dresses, that it takes, I mean, sometimes 250 hours to 300 hours to make a dress. It's,
I mean, if not more.
Tell us a little bit more
depending
about
on embroidery and construction and materials, yeah.
So, you know, when you think about it, it really is an artwork for them. It's for an artwork for the client, but it's also an artwork like for the brand, because, you know, it really is artwork. It's not simple, as you say.
Yeah, it's not simple.
Also the backdrop, you know, if you're going to be at a beach wedding is not the same as if we're going to do a castle wedding. You know, everything has to be appropriate. So it's really the whole vision. And then in the wedding industry, it's very interesting because we not only have the mother, but remember the mother of the bride, because she's usually wants to be the star too. And then there's the bridesmaids, and they have to look good, but they can't look better than the bride. And we go on and on and on. So it's, you know, I usually, you know, when we work together, you work with everyone, because that way, no drama, a lot, you know, there's always a little drama in
and
weddings,
also cohesion.
less drama with you.
Right, but also cohesion. And again, I think you want to tell a powerful story through image, and you want to understand the sort of transitions in the events and have it all fit together seamlessly. So it really is important, just as, you know, florist is going to be in charge of the table decor and the tablescapes and the installation and all of those details and the color palette. You know, having someone whose eyes and ears are set on coordinating and executing wardrobe effectively and beautifully is really important. And it takes months. It takes months and months of lead time. This does not happen overnight. I mean, with weddings, it's easily 6 to 8 months, maybe on the shortest time for custom, 2 months. And in the world of celebrity, we work on a slightly more expedited timeline. We're working with a couple of weeks, but the process is expedited for VIP. So
yeah, of course, when you're a VIP, everything is expedited. So tell me, leading into that, who's been one of your favorite celebrities to style?
Oh gosh, I'm so fortunate to work with so many incredible women. You know, working with Lupita Nyong'o on the 2013 awards season circuit that resulted in her famous custom blue Prada gown was probably a career highlight. That was a really special time in my life because it was very early on in my career, and my star kind of rose alongside hers. And we have the best time collaborating together. I mean, having a client whose synergy matches your own makes the process so much more enjoyable and fruitful. I think there's something to be said, again, whether you're in weddings or private events or that kind of thing, you know, you want to make sure that your clients are the right fit for you. So I am so fortunate that I have these long-standing relationships. Working with Diane Kruger is a dream. Working with Meryl Streep, I mean, it doesn't get more major than that. So I have had some wonderful clients over the years. But yeah.
And tell me, you've worked on some countless advertising campaigns, and, you know, like a lot of editorial. Yeah. Which ones have been your favorite? Like, tell us a little bit about them.
Well, I love doing advertising work. And I specifically love doing beauty campaigns. I work with Lancôme very regularly for all of their advertisements that you see in magazines or on billboards, or in, you know, the stores where you can buy makeup, that kind of thing. Working in advertising is very, very specific because you have the talent, which is typically the celebrity or the model. You have the client, who is the makeup brand, or whatever brand you might be working with. And then you also have the creative agency, which is typically the advertising agency. So there's a lot of different people who you have to please. And the sort of creative direction is very, very, very specific. And the work requires a little bit of different prep in terms of how you get the clothes and so forth. And there's often different factors that you have to consider, like there's a lot of video, there's a lot of digital, there's a lot of social media assets that are required. And so it's a lot of work. And you're on set doing this. This is not, you know, on a live red carpet. But it's a lot of fun. I love it. I've worked with so many different brands over the years, from car companies like Cadillac to makeup brands like Lancome or CoverGirl, to, you know, bridal brands like Naeem Khan. So there really is a range. Yeah.
And tell me, with sustainability, because I think that today it's, you know, it's all about, like, you know, the new sustainability trends. Tell us a little bit what's going on in the fashion world and how you maybe that helps your choices.
Yeah, I think it's a really important conversation, and I'm really happy and excited to see that it is more top of mind for people, as it should be, because it's our environment at stake. You know, the fashion industry in general is not particularly sustainable in its practices. And I think we're seeing now brands taking their respective measures to improve upon that. You know, in Hollywood with the red carpet, you're typically working with runway samples. Stars are wearing the actual clothes that were worn by the models on the runway. So there typically is one of something. And it's kind of ridiculous that this idea that you can't wear something again, or, you know, it's taboo to have two people wear the same dress or that kind of thing. I think it's starting to become slowly a thing of the past. Kate Blanchett is famous for re-wearing her dresses, which I think is amazing, because I think that's relatable and I think it is realistic. And I think she makes them feel fresh and new. And why wouldn't you want to wear something again that you love? But, you know, it is a challenge. And now, at least as I do, you know, I do a lot of custom design, it is constantly a conversation that I'm having with brands. And there are things, you know, no one's ever going to be 100% sustainable. So, you know, we need to get that idea out of our heads. But the fact that you can do things to reduce your carbon footprint or to make your dress more sustainably sound, you know, are things, you know, are things that require very little effort. You just have to ask the questions and do the research. So, you know, for me, I've been repurposing boning from old corsets into new dresses, and reusing certain materials, or wearing vintage and encouraging vintage, which I think is also so chic, because vintage is, for me, one of like the most special things that you can wear and find, because it's typically one of a kind. So it doesn't get more special than that. So there are things that you can do, but I'm glad that it's becoming more of a conversation, for sure.
Yes, yeah, we're going in that direction. It might not be, I like the way you said it. It's not 100% sustainability, but it's going in that direction. And at least there's that awareness that honestly there wasn't before. And I feel it's the same with the brides. They're, you know, thinking, where do all these hundreds of thousands of flowers go afterwards?
Totally. I mean, weddings are like the least sustainable event, period, because well, it's a one-time event. Unfortunately, it's a one-time thing.
And it can't be similar to somebody else's event. So, but the thing is, I like what you said, is that it's, people are aware of it now. It's in the conversation. And so what we do is, of course, you know, we recycle the flowers into compost. I mean, it's something, and, you know, we didn't think about doing that a few years ago. And little by little, I think we're going to go more towards, towards something a bit more sustainable. But I like the way you say 100% sustainable is very difficult, but we're going in that direction. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I would love to ask you the question that I think every girl, would love to hear. So what are like 5 things that that every girl has to have in her closet? Or that you love, or that you think are so important?
Well, I'm a big believer in the classics. I'm not a trend-driven stylist. I don't really believe in trends, to be honest. I believe in classic, timeless style and beauty. So when I think about the items in my wardrobe, I think about the basics. I think about having like the perfect leather jacket, the best pair of blue jeans, the perfect crisp white shirt, a great watch, a little black dress. To me, those are kind of like the key foolproof items that you need to have and wear. And you'll use for a lifetime. They will never go out of style.
And what about for the guys?
Oh, I didn't think about guys. Well, I do work with men. I think having your go-to t-shirt is really important, like a great, smart-looking t-shirt, not a schlubby t-shirt, like a t-shirt that you can wear on its own or you can layer underneath things. A tuxedo, a navy suit, a great pair of lace-ups, and a solid baseball cap with no logo. I bet that was an unexpected answer.
But yeah.
Actually, and you want to know what? One more thing. A pea coat.
Wait. What's a pea coat? I'm not
coat. It's like a double-breasted wool coat. Very, very classic.
Yeah, looks good. Yeah. Looks great. Any man looks good on a tuxedo too.
You always need a tuxedo. There's always a black tie event that's going to pop up. From
hopefully very soon, Micaela, because we're all waiting for that black tie event to come.
I know it's coming.
I think talking about the fact that it's coming, I would love to hear, like, before COVID, how much did you travel? Because I know you're always on a plane, because designers are all over the world. I know I had you in Paris a lot. But then also, how are you adapting, and how are you choosing, and how are you working with this COVID environment? That'd be kind of interesting.
Definitely. Well, pre-COVID, I had a studio in Los Angeles in addition to New York. So I was probably in LA at least one time a month, if not more. During award season, I'd probably spend 3 months where I'd be going out at least once a week, doing really quick turnaround flights and flying on the red eye. It was crazy. And I would say I probably made 6 trips to Paris a year, 4 trips to London a year. I've been going to Africa 1 to 2 times a year regularly for the last 4 years. I mean, it's been, my work is very busy. I mean, I didn't even touch on Italy, probably Italy twice a year. So, I mean, I live on a plane. For me, mind you, this is for work. This is not for pleasure, although I enjoy my work. None of this is vacation time. Since COVID, obviously that has not been possible. I am in Miami right now and have been between Miami and New York. And one thing that I did prior to COVID that I've had to do now pretty much exclusively is work through FaceTime or Zoom, like just about everybody. Back in the day, I had clients all over the world. And so I might be in LA, but I might have another client in Europe who needed to be serviced, and I would still use FaceTime for that. So this idea of working virtually isn't new for me, but now it is kind of exclusively the way that we're having to do our work, more or less. So yeah, it's been a change, but it's been manageable. And I'm so grateful for technology. I don't know what we would do without it.
So true. I don't know what we would do about it. Thank goodness. But it's true that in a way, I think there's a lot of practices that we're going to actually keep, COVID, because they're going to say, wow, do I need to travel? Of course, for the fittings and things like that, you need to be there, but do we need to travel just to see the embroidery? Maybe not, So
Yeah.
it's true. And tell me a little bit about like one of the craziest things that has happened to you, like those last minute crazy things. I think we touched base on a couple of them and they were pretty crazy. Some styling emergencies, if you will.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I have the craziest stories, but I'll never forget. I had one client who was in the middle of a massive press tour for one of the Star Wars films. And he was exhausted and on like a crazy travel schedule. And he accidentally left his suitcase next to the valet when he got in his car to go to the airport to fly to Japan. And all of his clothes for his premieres and press tour were in that suitcase.
All your work.
All my work. So he arrives to Asia and realizes that he forgot his baggage. And I had to pull out all the stops. I wound up getting in touch with my friends at Givenchy and had them open up the store in the middle of the night to accommodate pulling some inventory for him to wear to take care of his fashion emergency. So that was pretty crazy. I mean, I really have seen it all. I've had zippers break moments before a client walks on stage in an award show. I have had red wine spilled on white ball gowns. I mean, I really have experienced all of it. And I think the biggest takeaway is that your relationships matter so that you can do damage control well. You have to be resourceful and quick thinking, and you always need a backup plan because it's Murphy's Law. Like, things will go wrong if they can go wrong, and you are only ever in the clear if you have a backup plan. So I swear by it.
It's true. We always have the plan B, the rain plan.
There is always a plan.
But I couldn't agree with you more, Micaela, about relationships. It's really, what makes you very good at what you do in the end is the relationships that you built. And I couldn't agree more. It's the same with event planning. Literally, there's always things that go wrong, and who's the person that you can call and say, I need you ASAP, and they're going to be there for you. Like they open for you in the middle of the night in Japan, in Japanese. I don't know how you got it wrong, but it's about relationships. It really is, and that's what I totally agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and the relationship thing, it is the one thing that you can't rush. Relationships come with time. You have to build these relationships and that shared mutual trust between you and your colleagues or your contacts over time and through shared experiences. So, I know we're talking to a group of students right now, as you think about entering the workforce and whatever your career direction might be, your relationships are the absolute most valuable thing. And you need to focus on cultivating them because you never know, when you're going to need to lean on someone for that support and help. And my relationships have gotten me so far. I can't praise it more.
And, kind of leading into that, tell me a little bit about, for the audience, that there are a lot of students out there, if they wanted to pursue the styling industry, what advice would you give them?
Definitely intern. That's how I got started. In fact, we didn't really talk about this, so I'll share my own experience quickly. But I went to Parsons School of Design. I got a business degree, and the world of styling was not really a thing. I thought I had to be an editor at a fashion magazine, and I thought that's what I was going to do. However, through my years of interning, and I interned every semester and every summer, and I did something different every single time because I just wanted to have knowledge and I wanted to figure out my path. I discovered what it was like working for a fashion editor at a magazine, and I loved it. So when I graduated, I set out to do that. However, all the magazines were firing. No one was hiring. It was a recession. It was a challenging time, kind of like what we're in right now. So I can really relate. And the job market was hard. But thanks to an introduction through a family friend, I was introduced to a woman who became my mentor. She was kind of like the East Coast version of Rachel Zoe. So Rachel Zoe was finally on the scene. Her show was hot. And this woman, her name was Annabelle Tolman, at the time was the East Coast hot stylist. And she looked after the Olsen twins and Mariah Carey and all these major stars. So I wound up interning for her. And ultimately, after putting in a lot of work, became her assistant. And I worked with her for 6 years. And that internship turned into my job because I made myself invaluable, and because for me, I had found my calling. It really was the right opportunity for me. But I don't think I would have ever gotten there had I not taken advantage of internships and opportunities throughout my time in school. It really was kind of like a test run on what you want your career to look like. I mean, it was the best, and I learned so much. So I strongly recommend that. There are more stylists now than ever before. So the opportunity to intern and work for stylists is, I think, a lot easier these days. However, it's important that you do your research, approach the stylists whose work you admire. There are different types of stylists, see whose type of styling resonates with your interests, whether it's editorial or whether it's celebrity or if it's advertising or if it's in personal styling, whatever it might be, because there's so many different types. And now thanks to the digital age, you can DM, you can email, you can find ways to contact people so much more easily than ever before. And I couldn't recommend it more. And that's just coming from my own experience.
Thanks so much for that. And I agree.
Yeah.
I intern too. So, it's
excellent.
You learn, but at the same time, it's just very enriching, first of all, to see if that's what you want to do. Sometimes I tell my agents when I hire them, I'm like, okay, in 6 months, you will know if you like event planning, or you should say, I'm never going near that crazy nuts business ever again in my whole life. I go, you'll know.
Right.
So it's a good way.
Yeah,
I think
for
we're
sure.
going into the last question together.
Okay.
We're going to have some Q&A. And I wanted to just, before we ended, I did want to get some insight on your book. So if you can tell us about the book and how the idea came along, and tell me a little bit about your book, and then I think that'll be our last question.
Definitely. Well, I wrote my book, How to Accessorize the Perfect Finish for Any Outfit. Gosh, I think like 3 years ago now. And the idea came to me when I was listening to my clients. I was hearing them and their feedback and fittings. And sometimes I was hearing their compliments, which was, how would you ever think to put this shoe with this dress, or this piece of jewelry with, my outfit, or whatever it might be. And I realized also, when looking back at my portfolio of work, that there was some sort of pattern and consistency that accessories played in my styling. And so anyway, the sort of idea was born that I should share my tips and my sort of rules of thumb for how I work with accessories in regards to fashion, and put it into a beautiful, easy to digest, pretty book. So I'm very proud of it. It's gone on to be a bestseller. It's available everywhere from the Metropolitan Museum of Art bookstore to Amazon.
Really?
Yep. So to Carolina Herrera, he carries it in their store now too. So I'm very proud of it. And it was a lot of fun to work on, and a lot of fun to sort of flex my creativity in this new format. So I'm very proud of it. You guys should check it out. I'd love to hear your feedback.
We will definitely do.
Thank you, Micaela and Alejandra. It was truly
you.
lovely to learn more about your journey. And just to wrap up the session, we will have to move now to the Q&A moment. We have a lot of questions in the chat, so feel free to just unmute yourselves and ask the questions. But I think we can start with a question by Alex Frieder.
Sure. Thank you so much for being here today. This has been so lovely. You know, nowadays I feel like everyone and their mom is kind of jumping on this stylist trend in the age of Instagram and the digital age and whatnot. So I say, you know, what are the biggest misconceptions of being a fashion stylist? And you really touched on this, and you definitely recommend interning. But also, you know, maybe talking a bit about the relationships that are necessary for kind of breaking into this industry and whatnot.
Definitely. I think it's a great question and a really important point. And it's not to say that anyone can't be whoever they want to be and that they can't pursue any dream that they may have, because absolutely anybody can do that. But I think this idea that you're going to achieve success overnight is something that I often have to give my interns a little bit of a reality check on, because as I was saying, the relationships come with time, and you have to pay your dues, and you have to make mistakes, and you have to learn along the way. And that comes with time. That cannot be rushed, and that cannot be taught or read in a book. You know, that has to come through experience. And I think paying your dues is really important. Finding a mentor, finding someone who you can learn from, someone who can guide you, is really, really important. I am so proud to say that I have had multiple assistants over the years who have worked with me for 3, 5, 6 years, just like I did with my mentor, go on to start their own careers and find success because they put in the time and they learned the ropes. Again, there's different types of styling these days. Being a blogger is different from being a stylist, mind you. These are very different things. But I think also to be taken seriously in this line of work, you have to have perspective, you have to have historical references, you have to do your research, you have to truly know fashion. And so to put in the time to do that correctly is really, really important. So that would be my feedback there.
Thank you, Micaela. Anna Gretel has another question in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself, Anna.
What's the first step you take when organizing an event or a dress?
Well, I think they're very different. Maybe Alejandra, you would want to answer that first.
An event, I think the first step would be the venue, because obviously, as we were talking about, it's the backdrop that makes all the difference. Depending if we're going to do a chateau wedding, then all the vendors go around that whole, you know, glamour style, or if we're going to do a Provence wedding with like lavender. So I would say the venue, the backdrop. And then again, it's the creative partners. And that's why we're talking, maybe I'm, you know, insisting a lot upon it, but it's true. I have extraordinary creative partners, which I work with, like Micaela, or like the best florists in the world, or like the best light and sound. And we are orchestrators of getting the best team that fits very well with the person in order to, you know, to make it happen, basically.
And in my case, similarly, understanding the environment or the event is really important, because you never want an outfit to feel out of place. It really defeats the purpose. It dilutes your work, and it doesn't have the same impact. So it's really important to understand those key things. You know, what time is the sun setting? What's the weather? What's the location? What's the dress code? You know, these different things. And also really understanding your clients' likes and dislikes, like I said before. So once you've gotten clear on those things and you've gotten clear on visuals, then the creative process can really begin.
Okay.
Awesome. We have another question by Ashley Cabrera. If you want to unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you. I just have a question on knowing what you know now. What advice would you give to your past self from when you were first starting your career? Also, what type of characteristics do you look for when hiring interns?
Okay, well, I think I wish I knew more about the fundamentals of being self-employed and running a small business. Really from a business perspective, from an accounting perspective, from managing a budget. These are things, thankfully, that I learned in school, but I had not necessarily practiced in the workplace until, I was senior enough working with my mentor and until I really had a company of my own. And it was a very, very steep learning curve. So while I might not have been very interested in my finance class in college, I wish I had paid a little bit more attention because I had to learn it all over again once I was out of school. And I think in terms of internship qualities, first is attitude. Having a positive attitude is really important. We work crazy hours. The work is hard. It's not always glamorous. There are a lot of challenging things and a lot of dull tasks that go into any job, from packing and unpacking tons of boxes to calling messengers to doing expense reports. To running around picking up items from stores. There's a lot of work that goes into actually pulling off the job before you can have creative fun. So attitude's important. Being detail oriented is critical because we're dealing with fine, expensive, one of a kind things. And I would say being comfortable working in a fast-paced environment, because 9 times out of 10 there's some sort of fire drill that's going to happen within the first week of work. And being able to roll up your sleeves and run with the punches is what you have to be able to do. So I would say those are some key characteristics.
Okay, perfect. So now one last question so we can wrap up before the time is up. I had a personal question. So of course, you as a celebrity stylist, you're partnering with these big brands like Carolina Herrera, Oscar de la Renta. But I think that stylists that have kind of this outreach also have the mission to showcase those more emerging designers. So for example, do you have any plan to partner with student startups or emerging designers, and perhaps from emerging markets as well, to kind of showcase their world to the American market?
Yes, I have actually been doing this since the start of my career, mainly because, like I said, part of my job is research, and I'm always looking for the newest, hottest, most amazing thing. Over the years, some of the young designers whom I've given a spotlight to are Rosie Azulin. I was the first stylist to put her on the red carpet on Michelle Dockery for the Emmy Awards. Halpern, I put on Lupita for the Star Wars premiere. Richard Quinn, I put on Amal Clooney at the Met Gala. I have sought out young emerging talent, and there is a lot of talent out there. But I am very curated and specific in terms of what I look for. And I will only put the best of the best on my clients and give them the opportunity for that spotlight. So you wouldn't imagine what my Instagram inbox or my email inbox looks like with inquiries and lookbooks and so forth. And I take the time. I take the time to look at it and to find new things. Right now, I'm particularly interested in designers emerging out of Africa. That is a market that is totally untapped. And I am avidly looking for talent out of that market.
That is super. We actually have an upcoming event with African designers in April. So we'll definitely send you out an invite.
Great.
And I was
I was also asking because I also have my own personal startup brand with my sister. So I'll touch base with you on that offline.
Great.
But about that, I think Alexandra is ready for some closing remarks.
Yeah, unfortunately, our time is up. But thank you so much, Micaela and Alexandra, for this conversation. It was a pleasure to have you here with us today. For attendees, we would appreciate if you guys could fill in the feedback form that's being submitted in the chat now. And we just want to thank everyone for coming, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having us. This was a pleasure.
Thank you, Micaela. You gave us so many little treasure nuggets. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.